Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of Tyria Talk. My name is Richie, and this show is all about the stupendous upcoming MMO Guild Wars 2. This is episode number 9, and today we're going to talk about the PvP systems that have been announced for Guild Wars 2 thus far. Before I get into today's topic, though, I want to say congratulations to ArenaNet because Guild Wars 2 has just been announced, or a couple days ago, as the Eurogamer Expo 2011's Game of the Show. So, mini golf clap to you on that. Congratulations, you deserved it. Now, let's get into today's topic. We're going to talk about PvP, and I've discussed PvP a little bit in my Comic-Con episode, but I wanted to dedicate a whole episode to it because there's a lot to talk about, frankly. So let's just talk about what kind of PvP you're going to have in Guild Wars 2, and we'll start from there. They have announced that PvP can be split into competitive PvP and there's also world versus world PvP. Now, on the competitive side, there's a more casual flavor to it that allows for hot joinable games of up to 10 versus 10 people. And then there's also more hardcore tournaments for those that get really into it. There's going to be tournaments similar to how they structured it in Guild Wars 1, but there's going to be like a tournament ladder, and those are, I believe, 5 versus 5 matches. And so there's two different flavors. Now, on the casual side, I guess it's kind of like a lobby where you can kind of just join games, and you might even have some configurations that you can kind of customize. The unique thing, or not really unique, but the interesting thing about how the competitive PvP will work is it's completely skill-based, meaning that when you join one of these games, your character is bumped up to max level, all of the skills for your profession are unlocked, and all of your gear is equalized. So there is no advantage for one player or another going into these matches. Now, for those of you who play Guild Wars 1 or some other MMOs, you're used to this kind of setup. And in fact, if you play on a console and you join a Call of Duty type game or a shooter, that's how those things work. You have the same options and the same power level available to you as everybody else that's playing in the game. So it's a skill based system. So Guild Wars 2 is going to work like that. And if you're used to like PvP and MMOs like the kind that they have in like World of Warcraft or in Rift, this could be a little shocking to you if that's really all you know. They're kind of, you're very, if you're used to that, you're used to being able to improve your character in PvP by getting different types of gear options. You're going to deck your character out, and you kind of see your power increase based on which gear you get. And there are merits to that system, but this is a little different. Like, for example, I know Rift recently went through a round of gear normalization on their PvP tiers because what was happening is the folks that were really hardcore into PvP and had the best gear they had to offer were totally slaughtering anyone who just wanted to kind of try out for PvP for the first time. I mean, there was no way the beginner PvPer could do anything to these more advancing. So they actually kind of normalized the gear a bit, or normalized some of the stats in the gear to make it so that you can't just basically one-shot anyone who's just starting it. So there are disadvantages to that system. There's advantages too, to be fair, but that's one of the disadvantages. So this in Guild Wars 2, the competitive PvP, you are brought up to max level, and everything is equalized, like I said before. So you're on an even playing field, and basically, if you're getting stomped all over the place, it's probably because you suck. That's kind of harsh, but that's probably the reality. Or you can kind of say, oh, the other person was so much better than you. You could say it like that. So that's basically how the competitive is set up. Now, they did say that the type of PvP that this is going to be, like the mode, it's going to be conquest. I couldn't think of the word for a second. It's going to be a conquest map, meaning you've got to control certain nodes or control points in each map, and the longer and the more of those nodes that your team holds, the more points you'll rack up, and then the winner is determined when you hit a certain point threshold. So it's they've announced that as the sole PvP mode that's going into Guild Wars 2 at the moment. And I know there's people that might be going, oh no, what's going on? Because some people like capture the flag, some people like the deathmatch or more of an arena style, or maybe some sort of assault where one person's attacking a base, the other is defending, and then you switch roles and see who can do it faster. There's all different types of PvP modes, but they've gone in and basically said that Conquest is the one that they're developing for, and that's the one that's going to be introduced. Now, they did say that, or, and when I say they, this is ArenaNet, that they're going to put a bunch of like other secondary objectives in and really change the flavor of each of these maps so that it doesn't feel like the same thing every time. One example they gave was there's some trebuchet, which is kind of like a catapult type device, a siege weapon, that are in one of the maps, and players can control them and fire these things at each other, and you can also destroy the trebuchet and actually rebuild the trebuchet. So it kind of has an impact. You're not actually when you control one of these, you can do a lot of damage, but you're not actually at a control point and getting a node. So there's different strategies that take using these siege weapons. There's also going to be a lot of destructible terrain. Sometimes they can't be rebuilt. There's an example that there's a clock tower in one of the maps that can be shattered, and that kind of opens up different lanes for line of sight and being able, changes the strategy once that's been destroyed, and that can't be rebuilt again. There's other things that I've read where they might be developing a map that a dragon flies overhead every once in a while and just like torches everybody, that's in that path. There's also talk that they might be having a map where the nodes actually themselves move to different locations, so the nodes aren't in a static location. So they're looking to switch it up based on the map, but the game type is going to remain Conquest. I could definitely see you being disappointed if you really loved Capture the Flag or you really wanted Deathmatch. But let me explain that this is a very smart idea, in my opinion, because what happens is if a game offers too many different PvP modes, you kind of split your player base. I mean, you already have a game where there's a large chunk of people that are going to PvE, player versus environment, and they don't want to get into the competitive PvP at all. So you have a subset of people that want to do PvP. And then you're going to segment them even more by saying, all right, these are the people that are really interested in Capture the Flag, these want Deathmatch, these want Conquest, blah, blah, blah. When you got to queue up for these matches, and sometimes there's a wait involved, and you got to wait for the number of players to reach a certain threshold before the game actually gets launched. If you have all these different buckets where the people have to wait in line, you're just going to lengthen the time that everyone has to wait. And other MMOs have this issue, and it is definitely a problem, and they kind of solve it by having special weekends where this is Capture the Flag weekend, and we'll give you bonus stuff if you do Capture the Flag, and that kind of funnels people into one queue to kind of reduce the times, and that works to a degree. But if they're going into this right from the get-go saying, we're just going to do Conquest maps, everyone's in the same queue, the instances for these games are going to pop a lot faster, and they can kind of diversify it, like I said before, by giving different types of maps. And they haven't announced how many different maps there's going to be at launch, but they can concentrate all their PvP design team on making Conquest maps that are really interesting, and then funnel all those players into the queue. Faster queue times equal happier players. So I know there's going to be fans of different modes disappointed by this, but I think it's a smart move overall for them to go through. Cool. All right, so let's talk about the other side of PvP. There's world versus world PvP in Guild Wars 2, and this is pretty interesting. They've said this is more for the casual PvP crowd, but I kind of hate to use that word because it's got a lot of negative connotations in the MMO genre. Casual in that you can kind of drop in and drop out at any time. It's world versus world is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You log in. If there's nothing else going on, you can just pop into the world versus world area and see what's going on. Now, what this is 3 servers, your server versus 2 other servers, battling it out in this huge map that can support hundreds and thousands of players at the same time. And basically, there's stuff for large groups to do, like attacking the other server's keep. And there's stuff for small groups to do, like interrupting supply lines or maybe going to capture a mine. And basically, this goes on for a 2-week period versus, this matchup of you versus 2 other servers. And at the end of 2 weeks, whoever's gotten more of their objectives, scored more points, will win. And, they said that there might be some sort of bonuses that the server gets as a result of that. But in any case, some of the interesting points of this is, like I said before, you can go in here anytime you want. And your character is your PvE character. You can bring them in, and they will get bumped up to max level. But the gear that you have remains the same. So there can be some disparities in power based on your weapons. But since you're bumped up to max level, you're not going to go around being one-shot if you're a level 1 character versus a max level character. You still have a chance to impact the game, which is good because they want this experience for all levels. Starting level 1, you can come in here and you don't even have to do any PvE at all. You can level from 1 to 80 just in the world versus world. And the other great thing about it is not only can you gain experience, you can get loot. You can get loot in here while fighting other players. And it's great because you can then, when you leave the world versus world and you go back to PvE, you have any of the cool stuff that you found when you were in there, with your server. So that's really interesting. It's a really interesting change, or not change, but it's a really interesting idea. And so yeah, I mentioned before that large groups of organized people can try to take over these keeps. Small groups can do all kinds of little side objectives that tie into the dynamic event system to try to help your team along. So one of the examples that they gave is you might try to take just a couple friends and you might go off and try to take control of this mine. They also said that there might be guard towers or different villages that you want to try to gain influence over. But let's just start with the mine example. You and a couple friends can go in, you can capture this mine, and then suddenly a dynamic event will trigger that basically says, escort the mining carts and the supplies back to your keep. And at the same time, the other 2 servers are going to get dynamic events that basically say, stop those supplies from getting to the keep. So now there's this little mini game inside of a larger game of, what happens, which side's going to win. And if you manage to get the supplies to your keep, then your team gets a buff of some sort based on the, having the supply of that ore. Maybe you make better weapons or something like that. But so they just wanted to emphasize that you can impact the overall big battle just by doing these little mini things, and it's going to have the dynamic event system in it, and it's just going to create this huge battle war area for people to explore. And it's really neat. I love the fact that it's going on all the time. I love the fact that it could be hundreds, if not thousands of players, and everyone on your server is your ally. And I think that's a big point because this really can create these communities of people. I could just see it now. There could be servers that are really into this, and they want to be very organized about this from the get-go. They want to talk strategy. They might set up a different website. Go here, sign up. You have to verify that you're actually on our server. And there could be all kinds of spies trying to get in, trying to find the tactics from other servers, and it can get very competitive and very cool. So those are the two main areas. You have the competitive PvP and the world versus world. They're both kind of exciting. Now, just for me personally, I play a bunch of different MMOs, and I'm usually attracted to the PvE side, where I like endgame raiding, I like doing dungeons, I like the cooperative, team-based kind of thing. But in every MMO I've played, I've definitely dabbled on the PvP side. I like to try out Battlegrounds, I like to try out Arena, and different things like that. And I stink. I really suck at it. But I have fun anyway. But I have to say, I'm definitely excited about some of these things in Guild Wars 2. I like the skill-based system. I like not feeling like if I join one of these matches, I'm going to be totally behind the curve because I don't have the right gear and I have no idea what to do. I can just go in. I'll be like, all right, I have the same chance as you do, and if I fail, it's because I fail. So I could see myself joining to do that. And the world versus world is just perfect for, you have 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half hour before your friends are going to show up to do a dungeon. All right, let's go find out what's happening on our server versus server, our world versus world PvP. You can just pop in there anytime you want and see what's going on. So I like that a lot. Lastly, I wanted to say that they've also announced that they are working on tools for a spectator mode for their tournament PvP. And some sort of replay so that you can actually, probably post videos of different things to social media networks and teams, if they're going to get really serious into kind of like esports and competitive PvP. You got to have tools for spectating. You got to have tools for being able to replay the match so that you can view and see what went wrong here or what did you do right here and confer with your team to develop strategy. So they said that they may not have these features available for launch, but it's definitely something that they want to do. So good news all around. The PvP package for Guild Wars 2 looks amazing, and I like what they're doing. And that's going to wrap up today's episode. If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comments field below. And as usual, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can be notified when I make future videos. Also, give me a thumbs up. I can really use some thumbs up. All right. You can also reach me on Twitter at Richie Procopio. I talk about all sorts of video game industry stuff on there. And I'm also been posting my videos to Guild Wars 2 live. So if you're watching me there, thank you very much. I wanted to let you know to go to guildwars2live.com and check them out because it's an awesome website. All right. Thanks very much, and I'll talk to you later.